Good afternoon, and welcome to the annual State of the Community program. Please give yourselves a huge round of applause for being here today. This is presented by your Greater Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce. I'm Gary Rogers with the Beasley Media Group and a member of your chamber board. I'd like to recognize the dignitaries we have joined us in addition to our esteemed panel of speakers. And there is a huge list, so please bear with me. And if I forget somebody, I'm going to blame Jim. Good job, Jim. Thanks, bud. We got Dr. Keene here with the Fayetteville Technical Community College. We have Representative Bill E. Richardson, also North Carolina Representative John Zuka here. We have City Council members Dan Culleton, DJ Hare, Jim Arp, Johnny Dawkins, Kathy Jensen, Larry Wright, Tisha Waddell. We also have the Town of Hope Mills Commissioners, Jerry Legg, Jesse Bellflowers, Meg Larson, Pat Edwards. We also have the Mayor Pro Tem of Hope Mills, Mike Mitchell. We have the Mayor Pro Tem of Fayetteville, Ted Moan. City Manager, Doug Hewitt. I believe we got I'm just moving around here, Hope Mills Town Manager, Melissa Adams. We have our Cumberland County District Court Judge Tal Baggett here. We have our Cumberland County Commissioners, Glenn Adams, Jeanette Council, Jimmy Keefe, Marshall Faircloth, Michael Boos, our County Manager, Amy Cannon, and we have our Cumberland County Schools Superintendent, Dr. Marvin Conley Jr. I don't think I've ever been in a room with so many servants of our greater community area. Let's give them all a huge round of applause. And I hope I said all of those names correctly. Also, we want to give a big thank you to Faye TV for being out here today. You can catch them on Spectrum, Channel 7, or, of course, at fayetv.net. And, of course, at this time, if you will please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite our Chamber's Director of Events and Marketing, Tanisha Carr, for our invocation.
Please bow your heads with me. Mighty eternal God, we want to thank you for this beautiful day that you have brought us together where we can reflect on the progress and work that is taking place in our community. We invite you to be here. We ask that you will continue to help us to grow and expand and to reach further into the world. Thank you for everything, and bless the meal, and bless our time together. In the mighty name of God we pray. Amen.
Obviously, with the recent weather events in our community, Hurricane Florence, Hurricane Michael, this State of the Community takes on a little bit of a special meaning. You'll be hearing from some of our city officials, our county officials, our state officials on some of the efforts that have been made in the community to kind of better the environment. We also have our friends in Hope Mills. I think I saw Mayor Warner. There she is. How are you? But again, really, thank you for joining us, taking the time out of your day. Again, we recognize you could be other places today, but you chose to be here with us, and we can't thank you enough. You'll notice on your table there is a small glass from Bikes and Barbecue. That was provided to us by On After Sports Bar and Pub. Those glasses were supposed to be distributed at this past weekend's Bikes and Barbecue event on Saturday. However, due to Hurricane Michael, the truck that was to deliver them got delayed, and therefore we were not able to distribute them. So they're all for you to take today. We did want to be sure that they were distributed to to you all. Appreciate that, and that's really special thanks to Joseph Bayer Dewberry, who I believe is with us today. Joseph, if you're with us, thank you, sir. All right, I also want to thank all of the sponsors for today's event. Our platinum sponsors for today are PwC and the Crown Complex. Our gold sponsors are Array Magazine and Up and Coming Weekly. Our bronze sponsors are AAF MAA, Callahan and Rice, Chemours, First Health of the Carolinas, Longleaf Pine Realtors, NTE Energy, PNC, Service Source, and Veterans United Home Loans. So thank you all. Our table sponsors for the State of the Community Luncheon are the Fayetteville Observer, Fayetteville Technical Community College, Cumberland County, the City of Fayetteville, Action Pathways, Piedmont Natural Gas, the Charleston Group, and the Town of Hope Mills. So thank you all again for your support of the State of the Community Luncheon. Our annual sponsors for today's event, Highland Paving, H&H Homes, and Jerome Scott, the insurance guy, who's also an esteemed member of our board. Thank you all. Before we get on with the rest of the program, I'm going to turn it over to our MC for today, Gary Rogers. Thank you, Gary. Enjoy your meal, everyone. Thank you.
Awesome job. Thank you, Jim. Let's give him a big round of applause. He said his favorite thing to do is to go through the list of sponsors because it shows just how much our community not only supports themselves, of course, but it supports this event. We're just absolutely excited. And today we have a very special treat. And of course, Jim messed up all my notes, so bear with me. All right, we will begin today with a special presentation from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to Congressman Richard Hudson. Can I ask Clark Jackson to come to the stage along with Congressman Hudson, please?
Thank you. It's my great pleasure to be here this afternoon on behalf of the United States Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce to recognize Congressman Richard Hudson as a friend of business, and a recipient of the U.S. Chamber's Spirit of Enterprise Award. As you may know, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is the world's largest business federation. We represent more than 3 million businesses of every size and sector and region across the country, and that includes state and local chambers of commerce. Each year, we poll the American business community and ask them what it is that they need for their businesses to succeed. And then we rate members of Congress on how they vote on those issues. Members of Congress who receive a 70% or greater with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce receives the coveted U.S. Chamber Spirit of Enterprise Award. Last year, for the first session of the 115th Congress, the Chamber designated just 14 of the many votes that were taken on the House floor as key votes to successful businesses. Of those votes, one of them was tax reform, which was the first major reform of our tax code in 31 years, and then also many regulations that peel back the red tape that allow businesses to grow and succeed. As a constant advocate for businesses and their families, I'm proud to tell you that your representative, Richard Hudson, received the Chamber's Spirit of Enterprise Award with a 92% voting record. So, Congressman, on behalf of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce, and all of their members here today, we thank you for your leadership on all of our behalf in Washington.
Thank you so much for this award. You know, I love this community. It's been almost 20 years that I've been involved here with the Chamber and coming to this community. You've got so many dear friends out here in the audience and so many folks that I enjoy working very closely with. You know, the number one priority for government is to get out of the way of business. And I've worked very hard to try to get the federal government out of your way so that we can thrive in this community. I don't know if you saw the Wall Street Journal today. For the first time in a decade, the United States is now number one in competitiveness in the world. I think we're on the right track. So thank you for this opportunity to be with you. God bless you.
Let's give another round of applause for Congressman Hudson. Over 90%, that gives you an A. You would get a sticker at my house, so good job on that one. All right. Of course, at this time, our first speaker to present is our chairman of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. Let's put our hands together for Larry Lancaster.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's certainly a pleasure to be here today, and I also want to thank the Greater Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce and their sponsors and including the Crown Coliseum Complex for bringing us together today for the State of the Community Luncheon. I'm also pleased to be here today representing the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. It's been an honor to serve as their chairman, and I want to thank my fellow commissioners for their service to our county. Glenn Adams, Michael Booth, Charles Evans, Marshall Faircloth, Jimmy Keith, and of course, Dr. Council, who couldn't be here today. Now, down to some serious business. 4 weeks ago, we all know that Hurricane Florence punched us in the gut with a lot of wind damage, power outages, severe flooding, and some things we have never seen in this town that resembled C-130s, the largest mosquitoes that mankind has ever seen. Those mosquitoes taught me a lesson. It taught me to be a fighter. And our county is strong. We're united and we're ready to rebound not only from the mosquitoes, but from this disaster. And you know, my friends, we've been here before. Just 2 years ago, we learned a lot of lessons from Hurricane Matthew. And we used those lessons to put to work this time during our response to Florence. I'm very proud of how our county performed in response to Hurricane Florence and as we move forward with recovery efforts. The Emergency Operations Center operated 24/7 with staff from emergency services, county management, the sheriff's office, our human services agencies, and other county departments, as well as our community departments, including the City of Fayetteville and Red Cross. We're very thankful for the outside agencies that assisted us as far away, Congressman, as New York, California, Oklahoma, and Nebraska, and thank goodness even those closer to home, such as our National Guard, our North Carolina Forestry Service, and thank goodness, Colonel, for Fort Bragg. Like any good fighter, we're better when we have strong partners in our corner to provide support, and we will need our partners as we move forward on this journey to recovery. For the second time in 2 years, FEMA and the North Carolina Emergency Management has set up a disaster recovery center at the Department of Social Services to help our residents. As of last week, 1,280 survivors in Cumberland County have been approved for approximately $3.4 million in assistance. Over 33,000 households were approved for over $11.3 million in replacement and disaster food stamps. Our early damage reports show that more than 1,850 parcels throughout our unincorporated areas of the county, as well as Fayetteville and Hope Mills, experienced some damage. Our tax office is estimating that more than $30 million in losses in our unincorporated areas of Hope Mills and 6 smaller towns. 79 structures were destroyed in the unincorporated areas and smaller towns, and to the best of our knowledge, 35 properties in the unincorporated areas were damaged in both Hurricane Matthew and Florence. In the short term, the county's collecting debris in the unincorporated areas and small towns, and we have had at least 2 rounds of spraying for those mosquitoes. Now, we all know recovery is a long-term process, and I want to thank the Cumberland County Disaster Recovery Coalition for their ongoing work with Hurricane Matthew survivors and now those citizens that have been affected by Hurricane Florence. Our community is blessed to have a strong long-term recovery group to assist residents with unmet needs following a disaster. I can't praise or thank enough our public safety officials for what they did during the storm and what they continue to do daily for our residents. Recently, this chamber, the folks that are putting this on today, started the Valor Awards program this year, and it's a wonderful way to pay tributes to our first responders, and I think they need a round of applause. One of our county's continuing initiatives will be our Public Safety Task Force. It has been focused on volunteer fire departments and research in volunteerism, performance standards, and funding models. Volunteer fire service has changed dramatically over the years. Early in September, our Fire Chiefs Association announced that it was going to use some funding from the special fire tax in the unincorporated areas to purchase ballistic protective gear for all county volunteer fire departments. This equipment will allow our firefighters to enter into active mass casualty incidents, for goodness sakes, if anything like that would ever happen, and extract the injured as part of their service, and that would integrate our fire departments, ES personnel, and law enforcement. Our Fire Chiefs Association and Public Task Force are working to address the needs for more volunteers serving our fire departments, and the task force is expected to submit some recommendations to us as our Board of Commissioners. Now, our county, which has a tremendous responsibility for human services, and we have some exciting projects on the horizon. The Cumberland County Department of Public Health has been chosen to lead the implementation of Triple P. Now, that's not a football formation. It stands for Positive Parenting Program for an 18-county region. Cumberland County was selected as the lead agency based on our community's child abuse prevention work and success with regional initiatives. On November the 8th, in this place, our Cumberland County, our Department of Social Services will host a statewide adoption conference for representatives from social services, adoption agencies, the court system, licensed foster parents, and more. And our adoptive parents in our community who have opened their homes and their hearts during this past year will be honored, and it promises to be a great day. Tomorrow, another great day for us. It's because your county commissioners will gather to discuss our capital planning model and incorporate it to our annual budgeting process. This model is a tool to assist in funding projects and large reoccurring expenses, such as informational technology, without raising taxes. Let me say that again. And don't hold me to that. I was just joking really when I said that. I don't know how it had to be there. The meeting tomorrow is a follow-up to a session in August, and we will continue to look for specific projects and talk about timing over the next couple of years. Now, some serious things that we are talking about. A 9/11 center, an emergency operations center. Whether to build, Jim, a new performing arts center, or renovate the Crown Theater on your property. And thank you for what you've done, Jim. Bringing public water. Let me say this again loud and clear, my friends. Bringing public water to the Grace Creek District with a long-term sustainable approach. Constructing a county administration building or expanding the existing courthouse, and supporting the Civil War History and Reconstruction Center. The board has allotted $250,000, and we are awaiting the state's decision on funding. So again, I'm proud of what this community has done and what we have done together. So in closing, what's our state of community? Cumberland County is strong, and we're going to rebound. We're looking forward, and we're forward thinkers, and we have an exciting future. Your commissioners are committed to creating a future for Cumberland County where the extraordinary is waiting to be released. And I want to thank each of you today for being here as we look forward to working together, again, the mayors of municipalities and the mayor of the city of Fayetteville, to make Cumberland County a better place to live, a better place to work, and a better place to raise a family. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, you did a great job. Thank you, Commissioner Lancaster. I did notice on that very first picture that all of the county commissioners were smiling except for you. So we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Of course, at this time, I'd like to introduce the mayor of the great city of Fayetteville. Put your hands together for Mitch Colvin.
Good afternoon. First, let me begin by a gracious thank you to the Chamber and to the members of this fine facility for putting on such a wonderful luncheon and program for us today. Friends, as you know, we are in the midst of a very active hurricane season, and only a month ago, our community experienced the impacts of Hurricane Florence and the remnants of Michael, and certainly my prayers go out to all who have been impacted by these natural disasters. For just a moment, if you could turn your attention to a video that we've prepared for you by our corporate communications.
This update, pretty slow on the media calls last night.
I'm also serving as your interim emergency services director. This morning, we want to give you an update on.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. And I offer
Thank you for that committee.
Take care of it. All the time. You gotta take care of it.
Thank you, Corporate Communications. That was a very inspiring video. And as we look back and survey the damage of Hurricane Florence and Michael, the devastation they've had on our community, I can't help but watch with pride and observe the various acts of heroism shown by our first responders, numerous acts of brotherhood, and countless examples of unity that were on full display for the world to see this past September. We had an amazing response from our staff, our first responders, our council, our PwC utility partners, the county commissioners, and others in this community. And I was not only impressed, but I was inspired and encouraged by the true resolve of the City of Fayetteville. Let's give a gracious round of applause for our first responders, our emergency management staff, city and counties, and all who participated. Fort Bragg, our partners, thank you, Congressman, who was available to make calls on the federal level. As the video has shown, our community has sustained significant damage over the last 24 months. Tens of millions of dollars in damages from natural disasters. We have endured 2 500-year storms and a tropical storm remnant from a Category 4 hurricane in the last 23 months. I think it tells us that we must begin to plan and think differently. It's very likely that this is our new reality. We must begin to invest in infrastructure resilience and stormwater management initiatives, to update our floodplain maps, expand the ability of local governments to help mitigate and, if necessary, prevent the construction in flood-prone areas, and to finally invest in our stormwater management systems. With that being said, I've called for later this month on October the 30th. I've asked the City Council to formulate a plan to start to begin to have the conversation about improving our stormwater systems. I'll be asking my colleagues, who I'll need to introduce here in a moment, to consider different funding mechanisms that we've never done before, such as stormwater and infrastructure bonds. And although I am truly grateful for the response that we've gotten from our governor's office, from our state and our federal officials, for the nearly $29 million we've received for Hurricane Matthew relief. Many of our residents still today are still out of their homes nearly 2 years later. This cannot be an acceptable fact for us. We sustained over $50 million in damage. We've only received a portion of that, and we need to get to work with our federal and state officials to get the resources and get our people taken care of. Because as local officials, we are in a very difficult situation because we are dependent upon state and federal resources to initiate the recovery. But at the end of the day, all natural disasters are local problems. So Cumberland County, we must stand together in lobbying for the release of these state and federal dollars, work with our delegation members, our Congress and our state and local officials and the representatives of these agencies to get the resources in the hands of the people. Before we get to some other things, I would not be able to do any of this without the help of my team. I ask that the members of the Fayetteville City Council, if you would please stand at this time, please. If we could give them a round of applause. So we have in attendance today Councilmember Jensen, Councilmember Cullerton, Councilmember Tisha Waddell, Councilmember Larry Wright, Councilmember Johnny Dawkins, and Mayor Pro Tem Bone. Thank you for what you do. You know, as I think back to November of last year, 2017, when I was first elected mayor, I remember the excitement and enthusiasm I felt anticipating on being a part of building a brighter and better future for the city of Fayetteville. I remember making a commitment to work collaboratively with the other governing boards and the commission to make this a better community. Today, my friends, I'm proud to say that we are well on our way. In just 11 months, I'm proud to say that we have worked with our colleagues on the county commissioner better than I can remember in recent times. Our collaboration showed true resolve during the incidents of Hurricane Matthew just a month ago. We're building better relationships with our municipal neighbors like Spring Lake and Hope Mills. We're working better with our university partners like Fayetteville State with bringing health and wellness options to the seniors in East Fayetteville. We're building better relationships with Public Works Commission and Cape Fear Valley Hospital. And who could forget our greatest asset in this community, Fort Bragg. Colonel Reed and your team, thank you for what you do for the city of Fayetteville. And with that, I have to give a pause for men and women of uniform, not only serve our country, but serve this community. The military installation and the service members and their families are an integral part of our city and our community. They contribute greatly to our cultural fabric and to our local economy. We're thankful for your partnership, sir. Over the last 11 months, we have accomplished a lot. And because of that, the state of our city is strong. One of the most important focal points of the council has been economic development and job creation. We have taken a holistic approach to building a strong and robust economy here in the city of Fayetteville and in the county of Cumberland. It's imperative that we provide good-paying jobs to our citizens and concentrate on building career paths and talent pipelines for companies to tap into. We are committed to doing business with local companies and minority businesses located right here in the city of Fayetteville. We have a hefty city policy of a goal of spending 40 cents of every dollar right here in our local economy. We are building a stronger local economy. Creating an environment for entrepreneurs to start and expand businesses and encourage the fastest growing veteran population in the country to not only stay here, but to start and expand businesses and begin second careers right here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. My friends, hiring Fayetteville first is working. This has led to a nearly 1-point drop in the unemployment rate over the last year, creation of nearly 2,500 new jobs since last year. And I would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the hard work and the great work that the Fayetteville and Cumberland County Economic Development, Mr. Robert Van Gens and his team are doing, bringing businesses into our community every day. And as we speak of job creation and economic drivers, we are entering the final inning of the $37 million job creator we're building in downtown Fayetteville. Our new minor league baseball stadium and the minor league team has brought both temporary and regular full-time and part-time jobs. Nearly $11 million has been spent with local businesses. Many people have been employed by the construction of the new stadium, the adjacent hotel, and the renovations of the Prince Charles. Once complete, each of the facilities will provide consistent and temporary employment by the baseball team, the hotel owner chain, and the restaurant retailers and professional companies that will operate in the storefront units and the apartments associated with this project. One of the events that will be held in the new stadium is the Big South Baseball Tournament, which will bring many Division I players, parents, coaches, fans to our downtown, which means more money will be spent right here in this community. The tournament will be played at the new stadium for 3 years, so from 2019 to 2021. That's a big economic impact for the city of Fayetteville and for the county of Cumberland, and also it helps put our community on the map as a destination place for tourists considering the tournament will decide at least one of the entrance teams for the NCAA Division I baseball tournament. Like others, I'm looking forward to the World Championship Astros organization as they prepare to bring first-class entertainment to this downtown venue. In addition to the 70 minor league baseball games they will host each year, the other 295 days offer endless opportunities from concerts to monster truck rallies to festivals. And as mayor, I'm also thankful for the partnership with Cumberland County for their contribution to the baseball stadium project. Please know, members of the commission and Mr. Chairman, we couldn't have made it work without you. Building a good community means having good partnerships, and we now have that with the county commission. As we look to invest in our transportation, we are also seeing the fruits of our staff's hard work and as the growth of our city and our regional airport, where there's a major renovation of $30 million taking place to upgrade terminals and customer space. The airport, which was built in 1969, this is the first major renovation since. And although the investment exemplifies the growth of our community, we must continue to commit to public transportation and air travel. And I'm looking forward to the city making the necessary investments in our airport to help Fayetteville become a regional destination and option for travel. So go fly Fayetteville. In another form of transportation, the Fayetteville Area System of Transit opened a new transit center in downtown Fayetteville, vastly improving the experience for city bus riders as well as Greyhound and Megabus customers. Our transit department also added Sunday bus service, and I look forward to starting a discussion soon in the future with the mayors of our other community on how we can build partnerships for regional transportation options. With new facilities for the airport and transit, we're building towards the future, and we're working to connect our city to the rest of the world. And finally, quality of life investment in our parks and recreation. See, the chair, Mr. Chair of our Parks and Rec Committee, Councilmember Jensen, has done a wonderful job. And over the last 5 years, we have invested over $40 million in the parks and recreation services in this city, including a $35 million Parks and Rec bond and the construction of 3 new public swimming pools. Fayetteville Cumberland County Parks and Rec also opened an inclusive playing field at Massey Hill Recreation Center, which provides recreation options for mobility-challenged athletes in the buddy baseball and buddy football programs. We have to be an inclusive community for all, and this helps us to accomplish that. Parks and Rec was also honored as in the local Best Of Awards for Festival Park, Arnett Park, Kiwanis Recreation Center, and the Cape Fear River Trail, which is about to become even larger. So there are 8 miles of uninterrupted walk, jog, run, or bicycle riding activities that will take place on the Cape Fear River Trail, and it's a hidden gem in our community. And public safety. Having a city where people feel safe is also essential to the quality of life. Our police department has done a magnificent job and made great strides in building community relations. And despite of some of the media reports and some of the inaccurate websites that may exist, crime is actually being reduced in Fayetteville. We are definitely headed in the right direction. The old days of Vietnam are in our rearview mirror, and the new days of Fayetteville are ahead of us. According to our recently released citizen survey, it says that over 60% of our citizens feel safe, and this has dramatically increased since 2013. It says that our police department received several awards and recommendations and reaccreditations. Our 911 became only the 14th communications center in the world to receive the ACE Accreditation Awards, the Tri-ACE Accreditation Awards. So thank you, Chief Hawkins and your team of our wonderful Fayetteville Police Department. And with all of that love, we can't forget about our beloved Fire Department and Chief Majors. They are the winner of Outstanding Achievement Awards for their rescue efforts during Hurricane Matthew. Many of you may not realize that when calls go into the Fayetteville Fire Department, most of the calls are not for fires, but for emergency medical responses, and therefore gives the name Fayetteville Fire and Emergency Management. So they should also be thanked for the increase in the survivability rate from cardiac arrest incidents. These fine emergency response professionals have also started to administer naloxone, which is a medication designed to rapidly reverse opioid overdose. This action is a result of our community's awareness of the opioid problem, which we are dealing with aggressively. Hopefully, we will continue to unlock the research talent from our universities and community colleges located here in the city. We look forward to continue to work with Fayetteville State and hopefully expand our partnerships to include Methodist University and Fayetteville Technical Community College. We are working to solidify joint services with the military and with Fort Bragg to provide services to our men and women of uniform. And as mayor, I see everything we do as a partnership. We should all work together in a positive, collaborative spirit to achieve success and to make our community the best it can be. Our accomplishments over the last year can certainly be viewed as being impressive or something we should be proud of, but we are always focused on improvement. We still have challenges that are before us. While we have solutions for our public infrastructure projects as a result of the hurricane, we still have to find an answer to those displaced residents from Hurricane Matthew and now Florence. These citizens, in some cases, have been paying mortgage payments and rent payments. They've been displaced staying with family members, and this provides an incredible amount of stress on the lives of our citizens. And at this point, we have not really received a clear answer as to why those dollars have not made it to the local communities and to the local governments. And so the new problems of Hurricane Florence are also our focal point. We'll do our best to look to ways to help the flooded homeowners of Cedar Falls subdivision and other areas from this most recent natural disaster. So in closing, we'd like to say that our city is strong. As a community, we will accomplish every goal that we strive to meet. We live in the 6th largest city, the most powerful country in the world, and we are located to the greatest military base in the country. And as mayor, thank you so much for traveling with us on this hard-working achievement journey, and we look forward to doing great things in the future. God bless.
Thank you so much, Mayor Colvin. And at this time, we'd like to introduce the Garrison Commander of Fort Bragg, Colonel Kyle Reed.
Well, on behalf of Lieutenant General LaCamera, the Senior Commander of Fort Bragg, as well as the 18th Airborne Corps Commander, it is my honor to talk to you a little bit about what's going on over the last year. So I'll start with just situational awareness. The Bergdahl trial completed. We actually celebrated our 100th anniversary. We hosted a Armed Forces soccer tournament, which was all represented by all formations across our military on the installation. We had a pretty successful 4th of July with about 62,000 people on the parade field. And the list goes on. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the significance in the surrounding area here in just a second. So I really want to explain the depth and scope of the installation. So as you look at this slide, you're going to see a few boxes that are kind of highlighted. Up there in the top left, you see the $11.3 billion of economic influence in this surrounding community on a day-to-day basis. Really what that indicates is 70% of our installation does not reside on the post itself. They live out in your community. So this is not just our community, it's all of our community. And how do we interact with each other? You saw those videos, you saw the challenges with the storms as of late, but you also saw some support not only from the military, but the surrounding community. And if those videos and those pictures didn't get you a little bit teary-eyed, well, then I think you're potentially not from this community, because it does take a community to actually interact with each other and support each other during the great successes as well as the challenges. And then I'll kind of highlight a few other things on this slide. So you look down there on the left-hand bottom portion of this slide. You see the hours, you see the training that occurs out in that training area, but you really see the readiness of our formation building on this installation so that when we're learning about combat, it is not in combat, and it is not a two-way live fire where somebody's firing at us. It is working through all those skills that we train on to be prepared for the call of our nation. And then over there on the right-hand side, last year I mentioned that this installation is going to grow by about 2,500 personnel. Well, we've already started to see some of that growth. That number over there was about 52,000 last year. It's grown to about 54,000 right now. And it's going to continue to grow a little bit more over the next 2 to 3 years. Why do I tell you that? Because there's more people, there's more families, there's more community that's going to be injected into this surrounding area. Because right now I have about a 96% occupancy rate on the installation of the facilities that I own, right there in the middle of the slide. That's 6,150 houses. Well, I kind of need to keep some of them so that I can transition people as they PCS in and out of this installation. And then down there in the bottom right-hand side, you know, we talked about storm damage, we talked about dollars. Well, we suffered as well. Of those 52 million square feet of office space, there was about 600 buildings that suffered some damage. We've already done the assessment of that, and it comes up to about $55 million of damage. At the end of the last year, so the fiscal year ends for us September 30th, I received about $6 million to help with those damages. There's still a vacancy there of about $48 million that I kind of need to help with from my higher headquarters. So I'm working on that. But I just tell you that it is not just in the surrounding community that suffered. We all suffered from that. This slide right here, last year I think I presented this to you, and really what I wanted to show you is a few changes for the formations that are now residing on the installation. So you see that red box up there on the left-hand side. That is the new formation that has been created within our Army. It is called the Security Force Assistance Brigade. A little bit different concept than brigades that we have, the fighting formation. These are advisors and mentors. These are the ones that go after we've fought a war or after we've actually won that to provide the mentorship, the coaching, the teaching, the skill set within their ranks so they can stand up and defend themselves in the future. So there's two formations circled in that. One of them is the higher headquarters, was the Security Force Assistance Command, which is housed here, and that's over the 6 brigades that are going to be built across the Army. We happen to receive the second one here. Fort Benning was the first. Fort Bragg was the second. The third is going to be built at Fort Hood, the fourth at Fort Carson, the fifth at Joint Base Lewis McChord out in Washington, and then the sixth one is going to reside in the National Guard. That command is now here, which adds another general officer down there on the right-hand side, but it also adds the complexity of another subordinate command here on this installation for competing demands of those 52 million square feet of office space. Because we do not have enough in the current state of the formation as it resides on the installation. Now this slide. Last year, you may have seen some of these faces, but you may not have understood the roles and responsibilities that they served in. This year, several of them have changed over the last year. So up in the very top left-hand side, General Abrams yesterday had a relinquishment of command on the installation, and his representative to serve in those entities and that duty is Lieutenant General Richardson. She was the deputy commander. She just stepped up into the role to serve as the acting commander until Congress actually approves a representative to backfill General Abrams' position. General Townsend has left since last year. General LaCamera is the now acting senior commander, but he is deployed right now in Iraq, Syria, and fight those challenges over there. You see up on the second row, almost every single one of them has changed except for myself, down there in the bottom right. So why do I tell you that? Because there's a lot of turmoil, there's a lot of challenges, there's a lot of new faces. Well, this is a way of depicting that to all of you, just so you understand. Sometimes when you thought you were going to go meet somebody, it may be a different person. I show you this because this is kind of my scorecard. And it's not how I'm doing, it's how we are providing to the community. So on the installation, we have a priority listing of the focus areas of what we are trying to ensure does not fail. That airfield is the #1 priority because of what it provides to our National Command Authority. So how do we achieve greater success with that portion of the installation? Well, it's ensuring that that airfield operates properly. It's ensuring that the runway doesn't fail. It's ensuring the taxiways and parking lots and all the associated requirements of that can be executed. And during the hurricane, that did not fail. It was not ever taken out of operation for a requirement. In the event that we would have received a phone call, it would have been able to deploy soldiers out of here. As you go down that list, that is really what we are focused on right now. And tomorrow, actually, we're going to have a General Officer Steering Committee meeting where we all meet and we talk about that to ensure that we're focused on the right things for providing to the community for those we serve. I tell you that because this is where I allocate money, this is where I allocate resources, and this is where I allocate requirements of my staff to ensure we're meeting the goals and responsibilities that we have been charged with. Now, that Security Force Assistance Brigade that I talked about in the command, this really is what it does. This is the true benefit of having a formation that serves as those mentors. So we're not taking a combat formation out of the ranks and we actually get them back to home station to train and be prepared for the next call. Because if you haven't noticed, the last 17 years have been a little bit busy for our formations, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. I think it's actually going to grow potentially with the challenges that we're experiencing on the Pacific Rim and the challenges in that arena. So I tell you that because we do have a new general officer here, General Landis. He serves as the commander of the SFAC, and he not only plans, prepares, and conducts training here, but he's also looking at the big Army picture of how do they get this formation into the right requirements for the future of our Army. Now, this is really what I really wanted to show you about readiness. That's our range complex. And all those blowouts and boxes around that are the improvements we have been able to make in the training area. And this is one time I can say I'm not going to receive a noise violation or requirement out of those C-130 mosquitoes because I didn't create them. Mother Nature did. But in all seriousness, so the range complex that we have, it's not going to grow in any nature, but you see up there in the top left-hand side all the capabilities that we have. The 6 drop zones, the 82 ranges, live fire ranges that we have, the 4 impact areas. Well, how do we better create an environment that we can conduct the training required prior to deployments? And that's exactly what we're about. And you see a lot of millions of dollars being spent out there, but really what it provides is ensuring that when those formations deploy out of here, they are prepared and they have the requisite skills to execute their roles abroad. This slide right here really indicates that, yes, I know we have caused challenges in the surrounding area with some of the construction. We're almost there. We're getting close. 295 is going to be complete somewhere around the 2022, 23 timeframe. I know that kind of looks like a long ways out, but when you look at it, it's going to go from 95 to 95. It'll be a way to actually increase the traffic flow around the city effectively, but also ensuring that we can get on and off the installation at a more expeditious manner. And some of those other indications around there, some of them are already complete, which actually helps, like the Spring Lake area and 87 area. And then the last slide I'm really going to show you and what I really would like to highlight to you is a way that this community is working together. So the government has given me a requirement to reduce my manpower, reduce my contracts, the actual costs of those contracts, and reduce my operating budget. The one way I can achieve that is by looking to the community and seeing how we can make efficiencies and sometimes provide work to your formations in support of the installation. So these are a list of topics that we've already identified. There were 37 that we had several group meetings to discuss. These are the 12 that the Army is actually considering for putting in place for not only care of the installation, but also providing back to the community for some of your overhead and capabilities. And then the last thing I'll say is I sincerely appreciate the community's interaction with this installation. Yes, we are one of the largest, not by land, but by population. And you saw those people the overall number of people, 275,000 people, somehow related to the installation. More than likely, every single one of you knows somebody that's serving. And you know the sacrifices that they're going through, because right now off the installation, there's about 9,000 service members deployed. And those families that are remain here while they're deployed could use just a little bit of assistance, and I would ask that you reach out and potentially help them. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your support.
Thank you so much, Colonel Reed. At this time, I would like to introduce the mayor of the town of Hope Mills, and also she used to be my assistant principal, just throwing that one out there, Ms. Jackie Warner.
I'm just going to say hit it. Whoever's got that button. Do I have it, or is it someone out there? For those of you that have been here every year that I have been here, you know that every year that I came, there was always the main topic was, what about the dam? Or am I going to be known as the dam mayor like two others because the dam wasn't back? So I just want you to know, January 31st, we cut the ribbon, and we didn't even have to wait and do the procedure like they told us, because the good Lord filled it full of water. We didn't have to go through it. So it was, we cut the ribbon and there it is. I want you to know that this drone shot here was done by somebody that was driving by, thought it looked beautiful, and sent his drone up. His name's John Jones. He did a great job. He's not a professional, but he wanted me to have it because he said, this is something you need. You need to have it. Well, just know that our town staff and Cumberland County and everyone else that was involved on the team during Hurricane Florence, I want you to know how not only were we proactive this time, because we were planned. This team in Cumberland County, this team of getting the mayors together, the emergency response teams together, we had phone conferences to make sure we were all on the same page. Somehow, somewhere, the rest of the world thought that this dam was going to fail. And believe it or not, every morning, starting with the Friday morning of the storm, there were people down there with all kinds of cameras, all kinds of newspapers. I would get phone calls in the middle of the night. It has a crack in it. And just know that if you look on my Facebook page, because we didn't get the hurricane stuff in time to put it on here, you can start the rest of the video because it can run while I talk. The dam survived. It probably took the test of a lifetime, and it probably did something that no one else thought it could do. We had just received a special award, in fact, from a national award for ASI and Schnabel, the builders of the dam, on the structure and how beautiful it was and how strong it was. So we were positive, we knew it was going to last. What you're seeing now up there is what this lake and this dam means to Hope Mills. It's been gone for the most part since 2003. It was rebuilt in 2010, and then it failed 10 months later. So that what happened was, during the whole course of my being mayor, from the time I was sworn in until me standing here, it's been a life's work It's almost like having to raise a child or to bear a child because of all the stuff we've had to go through. But now it's back, and you can see it came back with a bang. We had our lake celebration centered around the 4th of July. We had events every day. We had cardboard boat races that you wouldn't believe. We had our representatives out there judging them. Sheriff Wright came, Representative Richardson, Zoka, Senator Wesley Meredith. They were our judges for the cardboard boat races. So we had community involvement all the way around. I would be remiss if I did not thank our town staff, because without them, everything that happens in Hope Mills just wouldn't happen. So I'm just going to ask that little table over there with our town manager, Melissa Adams, if they'll please stand, because even when you have celebrations, they have to work hard. They did a great job. Along with them, I have Commissioner Bellflowers representing our town board. Commissioner Bellflowers was newly elected, so he came on board and he got to be part of the big celebration. He missed out on all those years. So just know that he can be very proud that he can say the ribbon cutting happened in January 31st when he was there. I want to ditto those comments from Mayor Colvin and Commissioner Lancaster and even Fort Bragg, because we partner with all of them and we work very diligently to make sure that we're good partners. But we would not be able to do the things we do in Hope Mills without them, and we know that. We know that when you look at those number of retirees up there from the military, amazingly, a lot of them are in Hope Mills. A lot of them retire to Hope Mills. So we're very proud of our military, active and retired, because we know Hope Mills has become home for them. We also know that by working very closely with the Mayor's Coalition and working very closely now with Mayor Mitch Colvin, we're seeing some things happen collectively for Cumberland County. And what that means for us and for all the rest of the mayors in our area is that now we're all looked at. So when Robert Van Giens goes out and looks for economic development, he's looking at it for even Hope Mills, even for Linden, even for Falcon, even for Wade, even for Godwin. He's out there searching and looking for all of us. And that's important because, again, that speaks strongly about the team we have. I also would like to say that we do have some things happening in Hope Mills beyond the lake. We've got a 90-acre golf course that we don't play golf on anymore, that we're looking at, and we're working very carefully to have good partnerships so that we can bring another recreation site for Cumberland County, another destination, so to speak, so that you would come to, when you get off of 295, you can come to the destination in Hope Mills too, just like there is in Fayetteville and just like there is going to be across our county. We're very proud of the fact that we are focusing in on those ways that we can be a better neighbor for the whole county and also be a good resource so that when things want to come to Cumberland County, they'll look at all of us. Without further ado, I just want you to know that I'm always the one that gets to speak fast. They asked me about my notes. That's my notes. A few words here or there. I've thanked everybody I think I need to thank. I want you to know how proud I am that we're not only Hope Mills proud, but we're continuing to be Hope Mills strong, and we're recovering from Florence and a whole lot better than we did from Matthew.
I think she just remembered who I was. Now I'm in trouble. At this time, I'd like to introduce from the town of Spring Lake, your mayor, Larry Dobbins. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Good afternoon. I'm so happy to be here, my first time. But let me piggyback on some of the video. The opening scene from Mayor Colvin was the church in Spring Lake for the second time in 2 years that had been underwater. This time it was like 8 feet higher. The closing scene of Mayor Warner's view of the lake with the boats and the kayaks, that reminds me of one thing, that a rising tide tends to raise all boats. And that's where we are at Spring Lake. Spring Lake, as some of you don't know, and I'm saying that honestly, is the little town in the northwest corner of Cumberland County. Now, one of the things I first heard back about 8 months ago, is that Spring Lake is an island. Well, you could have reached that island by way of water because our 2 bridges into Spring Lake were flooded, and you could have gotten on our little rescue boat and come there. But it is our intent to work diligently, faithfully, and with all that we have to change that perception of Spring Lake. I also want to thank the partnerships that we have been able to forge with Fort Bragg, Fayetteville State University, Fayetteville Technical Community College, the Cumberland County Schools. And speaking of that, the perception there is that the schools in Spring Lake are not performing too well. Well, we intend to change all of that. We also want to make you aware of the partnership with the other municipalities that exist in Cumberland County. I must say that we in Spring Lake are a resilient people. We are going to bounce back as never before. First of all, from the road construction that split our town into 2 halves, and I understand that. I would not continue to complain about a small town being divided by 11 lanes of travel at one of our intersections. But we're going to take that lemon and we're going to show you how many different things we can do with one yellow piece of fruit that is such a delicious and usable item that you will be amazed at the way Spring Lake is going to bounce back. Now, there are more things I cannot talk about Spring Lake than I can talk about. And the reason is there's some things in the incubator going on in Spring Lake that when they happen, when the ground is broken for new building and new construction and new economic opportunities come to Spring Lake, some people will wonder and think, well, how did that happen so quickly? When did it happen? Well, it happened, some of it is happening while I'm standing here now addressing this audience. And speaking of that, I want to thank Mr. Van Gien, and I think he's going to close this thing out quite well. We just recently hired an economic development coordinator. He hit the ground running. He has found at least 14 places that are ready to be occupied by economic and other businesses. So Spring Lake, believe me, is a town that's on the move. Now, if I'm fortunate enough to be called back here next year, I will remind you of my comments and some of the things that we have gone through in the coming year. Coming year. Along with that, we now have a Chamber of Commerce person newly on board for about a month that comes with enthusiasm, and she comes with vigor, and she wants to, again, put Spring Lake on the map as never before. But in closing, I want to address what we went through in Spring Lake in terms of volunteers. We had a group of 40 young men who were recovering from all kinds of knockdowns in life to come out on their own expense and tear down and tear out and tear up everything that the waters of Hurricane Florence destroyed. To me, that was amazing and that was touching, that they came out on their own expense and did what they did for us. And not just these guys who came from California, but also as recently as yesterday, I picked up a lot of gifts and a lot of things from a church down in Rayford. And I'm just thankful for all that has been done to help our little town of Spring Lake recover. One thing I can appeal to you all to do is that if you have some money sitting around in your cookie jars, in your cans, you can do 2 things for Spring Lake. You can become investors and you can invest, because we have plenty of growth opportunities for each of you who love us so dearly that you're going to come across that divide and come and help us out. And we promise that you will get a handsome return on your investment as an investor. Again, we are a resilient people. We're going to bounce back, and we're going to be like the $6 million man decades ago, bigger and better than ever. So with that, I close, and thank you for your time.
You can make lemonade, lemon pie, lemon pepper chicken wings, one of my favorite. Cannot wait to come to Spring Lake to enjoy all those wonderful things. At this time, I'd like to introduce your Fayetteville, Cumberland County Economic Development, Robert Van Giens.
Well, please forgive me because I'm going to put this on so I can see what you see as we go forward here. It is a pleasure to be back with you. 1 year ago, I had the opportunity, I'm assuming, all right, to join you, and it's amazing the difference that a year can make. 1 year ago, that green stuff up there on the top left was your Cedar Creek Industrial Park. Today, that's 690,000 square feet of Campbell Soup's distribution center. Just a year ago, you had a parking area where today a state-of-the-art baseball stadium that is attracting investment interest from around the country is being built. 1 year ago, I looked this young. Now, for the record, while she wears her hair different, my wife has not aged a single day since that picture was taken 1 year ago. Again, obviously, I think we all know our role as economic development stewards for you is to increase employment with our existing companies, attract new jobs, and overall work to elevate the economic prosperity of our citizens. I want to talk to you briefly today about honoring the commitments we made 1 year ago when I was only a few months into the job. I think the first item that we said we were going to be sure to do is tell the incredible story that is Fayetteville, that is Cumberland County. We have a diverse workforce, an affordable workforce, a skilled workforce, a young workforce. And what do you hear today? Everywhere around the country when you're talking to companies, talent, talent, talent. And we have that in our community. We have that every year coming out of Fort Bragg. And we have nothing but incredible opportunity to leverage that going forward. We are at trade shows. We are working with site selectors. We were just recently with the state of North Carolina, the Economic Development Partnership, in Asheville, pitching our community, putting in front of decision makers. We're doing everything from digital marketing, advertising, to reaching out and just knocking on doors, because that's what it takes to be successful in marketing your community. One of the challenges set forward to us was to support and encourage innovation. And right now, in this space, that I have a great relationship with PwC, supported by the city and the county, and with funding that was secured by Representative Zoka, we have the CORE, our innovation corridor. There are investors right now meeting up there discussing opportunity zones. Tomorrow, a state-of-the-art training company who works with special forces will be hosting training for their clients. Next week, we have 2 tech companies that I can't talk about coming to spend time there. But the concept behind this was to leverage the incredible talent that comes through this community every day, to give it a place to convene, to collaborate, to connect, and ultimately what we all want, have a home here and grow their business in Fayetteville and Cumberland County. You asked us to diversify what we were doing, to break out of the old mode. We still call on companies, and we still respond to RFPs, but we've created a municipal advisory committee working with every town in the community. We're going countywide, digging up sites and buildings for every type of prospects. We're contracting services. When Mayor Dobbins said we've hired an economic development manager for the town, we, together with them, have hired an economic development manager. We're working with the City of Fayetteville to refocus, redouble, and expand our efforts on marketing and promoting the airport. We've created a logistics council to work with our trucking community, and we continue to push forward on action-based strategies. If you have a large tract near a road and infrastructure and you haven't gotten a call from us yet, you probably have gotten 5 calls from us. Let me know right after this meeting, because we are going up and down every road we can to try to find new opportunity to land business in this community. I won't say much more about that, but we're going to have 1,000 additional acres on the ground and available for construction than we did a year ago. Lead, the saying, I don't think it quite goes this way, but lead, follow, and collaborate. I think it was lead, follow, get out of the way. But really, we do believe in partnership. We do believe in working with everyone in the community. We don't want to be redundant. We want to be complementary. So from the Fort Bragg Research Institute to the Next Generation Healthcare Partnership to the collaborative branding that tomorrow we'll be having the first set of finalist interviews that we're working on across this community to repurpose how we share our story, to being part of the Mega Site Corridor that runs from Winston-Salem all the way down here to Fayetteville. We have too many partners to name, but I'm going to try anyway. So I think you could see here, we have just an incredible team from our state delegation to our federal delegation to our local leadership to our board. It's just been a great experience working together. 21 new client visits in 2018 from across a variety of sectors. 60 active projects we're seeing. Combined interest, these are projects, if we were to land them all, which I wish we had space for every one of them because I believe we'd stand a shot, $2 billion in investment, 8,000 new jobs. But at the end of the day, it's about what do you actually complete here in your community. The mayor touched on it, 2,500 new jobs over a year ago. 1,000 of those jobs have come through our office. So we are happy to have played a role in that process. Really, it's not me, it's you. It's something tangentially related to something my wife said to me when we were dating in high school. I think the words might have gone a little bit different. Is what it's, oh, no, it's, it's not you, it's me. That's how it went at that time. But really, this is not my story. This is your story. What we do at the FCDC is only a small part of the equation. And every time we've asked this community to step up, whether it's the county commissioners or the city council or PwC or our utility providers or our state delegation or the Department of Commerce, or the citizens who have responded to the tune of thousands of people coming out to take their time and offer their services to work for a company that they haven't even heard of yet. It has just been an incredible, incredible run for us, and we are so grateful for that support and where we see these things are going. I'm going to touch briefly on what we saw regarding the hurricane impacts from the business sector, very, very briefly. Everybody said it here. This community responded in an impressive fashion. It's a clear demonstration of how you can learn lessons and do things better. Was everything perfect? No. Will be lessons to learn going forward? Yes. But what we heard from the private sector largely was that they weathered this storm far better than you could have ever imagined. And this really isn't a story of destruction. This is a story of resilience, and it's a story I've been telling everywhere I can. I guess you could say I'm kind of like the Honda in the paper that seems too good to be true. Not too many years, but a boatload of miles on it. I've seen a lot. I've never seen a place, and please hear me if you hear anything today. The way this community prepared, the way it put people and even pets forward, the way you got people into shelters, the way you communicated during, before, after, the way you connected us and kept us safe was incredible. The fact that we knew in advance when PwC's trucks were going to deploy as soon as the winds dropped. We knew when they deployed, and we knew where things stood. I got my power back. Then I lost my power because a tree went down. You know what? They told me. I could pull it up on a map. And this is the way I tell the story. And I'm going to actually go back and look at my notes here, because on Thursday we prepared. On Friday, the storm hit. On Saturday, we found fellowship and comfort with our neighbors and our family. On Sunday, we cleaned up, and on Monday, almost most of this city was open for business again. 2 business days. To be hit with an unprecedented national disaster and lose 2 business days, that's the story. It's about being able to put adversity behind us and move forward. Now, that said, there are challenges in our community. There's a lot that we want to do and need to do with regards to recovering, rebuilding, finding job opportunities for our citizens that need them most. But we're going to get there, and we're going to do it together. 1 year in, I was going to say, my daughter was right. And the reason will say, why are you wearing a guitar tie? Why is he wearing that? Because my daughter said to me, you need to wear that tie. And this is Cece, and she runs our house. She's not the oldest, but she's the one in charge. She says, that's because Fayetteville rocks. Now, and please don't hold that against her. She doesn't understand city, county geography, and Cumberland County and its 9 municipalities, rocks didn't quite roll off her tongue either. But so, I mean, by that she means everyone here in the community. But I think if I could just leave as one thing, I wanted to say thank you. I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for letting me be part of your community and letting our team help where we can. And thank you for all that you do every single day to make this community a better place. Again, I keep coming back to what I said here 1 year ago, that anyone in any position like mine is the smallest role to it, and without all of you, nothing would be possible. 1 year ago, I said, together we will accomplish great things. And I look around 1 year later and say with confidence, together we are accomplishing great things. But no man goes it their way alone. And we do have one great partner coming up afterwards, if I may just say. I'm so happy to have one of our great and a longstanding friend of mine, Tony Copeland, here. And so thank you. There was a picture that I ran through there. The business day after the hurricane passed, we had our friends from the Southeast Partnership up here in Fayetteville, because we were one of only 2 places they could get. But they had a mandate from Secretary Copeland to get started on inventorying what needed to be done to get businesses back up and running and what we needed to improve our business infrastructure after the storm. 10 days later, which I think was the first time we could all get to Elizabethtown, Secretary Copeland was with us, and we were walking through that information that's been provided by all the great team and the great staff you have here. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for everything that you all do to help economic development and push our community forward.
Thank you so much. And of course, we do have a very special treat. Pleased to have the Honorable Anthony Copeland, North Carolina Secretary of Commerce, joining us. Secretary Copeland had earlier served as the Assistant Commerce Secretary, had his own law firm, and was in senior management of a telecommunications company. He is a graduate of Duke University. Go Blue Devils, that's what I'm talking about. He will be visiting businesses impacted by Hurricane Florence this afternoon, and I know we're running a little late, sorry about that. So please, if you can, put your hands together and welcome Secretary Copeland to the stage.
You know, I've known Robert for about 20 years, and I don't know if I ever remember him looking like that picture. I didn't know glamour shots existed 20 years ago. No, thank you for inviting me, and I'm a little shorter than some of you. Thank you for inviting me here today. And like you say, business is what is responsible for social progress also, and on the Department of Commerce. I bring you greetings from Governor Cooper. Actually, I've been in office since January 12th of 2017, and we came to office in a whirlwind. The legislature was in session, but Governor Cooper tasked me with a big task, and that was to bring stability back to economic development and to work with people of goodwill on both sides of the aisle to do that. And I will say, the first year we were in office, we generated the number of jobs that we did in 2006. We're back to where we were there, 22,000. And so I want to say that. Also want to say that we're on a trajectory this year to have the largest gross state product that we've ever had in the history of North Carolina. So the state of North Carolina is moving forward. I'll talk about the elephant in the room on the end, but I want to tell you the state of North Carolina, we're doing a lot of good things. We're going to recover from this hurricane. If Wall Street and New Jersey can recover from Sandy and New Orleans from Katrina, we'll be back. And the governor has tasked the department and the state to have a smart recovery. We're going to work really hard. Colonel Reed talked to General Honoree a few weeks ago, and he said a smart recovery means if it has flooded once, it will flood again. And so you need to remember that. Mayor Colvin, I think the governor's hearing what you're saying about the smart recovery. And I want to say that the people in this room, I've got to thank you and recognize that you make sense of what the expression is, leadership's ability to see and create the future. And you're doing that, and you have done that. Mayor, I think if Lafayette returned today to Fayetteville, he would be proud. He would smile what you've accomplished here in Fayetteville. This is a stellar city, and I don't think we need to always look through the lens of this disaster. I think we need to look forward. As that, I am tasked with the Department of Commerce, and I have two of my colleagues with me, George Sherrill and Beth Gargan, and George is largely responsible for administering the HUD funds that will be coming through to help you as the monies come through. About a week before the hurricane, Governor Cooper pulled us all in, and we were tasked with pre-staging for this hurricane. So we were working a week, and we saw Luckily, we had a lens to look forward to that in 1954, when Hazel hit, no one had that ability. When Hazel hit North Carolina in 1954 at 140 miles an hour, it did $350 million worth of damage in 1954. And that's what we were looking at as it was bearing down on North Carolina. And so we were pre-staging a week before the National Guard was deployed. All of our assets, all of you emergency management people, the police, all of you locals, I have to thank all of you. We're really indebted to you. We haven't finished with you yet. We have a long way to go, but thank you for all that you have done. I want to talk about, I do want to talk about a little bit, I'll go back to about North Carolina. I'm going to move back and forth. In 1950, North Carolina was the second poorest state in the country. We were 47th out of 48 states. We had some visionary leadership led by people like Terry Sanford, who moved on with integration, with growing the Research Triangle Park, developing our 18 university system, our 48 community colleges. And I've got to say, all of you with the community colleges, you are the greatest asset in economic development perhaps that we have in the state. See Larry Keene over there. I've known him longer than he'd like for me to remember also. Workforce is the #1 key to economic development. No company is going anywhere where they expect the employees to fall out of an airplane. That's just not going to happen. Luckily, North Carolina has an abundant workforce. I'll just talk, if you look at the Triangle alone, and I could talk about your region too and others, 40,000 college graduates a year. Wake Tech has 70,000 students. There's no accident that companies are coming here from all over the world. We are really in the center of the universe. We have the global headquarters for Honda Aviation in Greensboro, 3,000 people making jets. We have GE Aviation. I was in Cambridge not too long ago with Biogen, talk about dealing with our military and moving people out of the military into the biotech sector. The military is a great pipeline for really reliable and trainable workers. I was with the CEO of Daimler. We're the third largest Daimler investment in North America, by the way. All those school buses you ride in are made by Daimler. So if you want a Mercedes, go buy a school bus, I guess. But the CEO of Daimler said that what they have to have, without exception, is a trainable workforce. It doesn't mean a trained workforce, it means a trainable workforce with the basic skills, read, write, compute, and think. Workers with thinking skills. And North Carolina is doing that and has been doing that for about 70 years and is paying off. I know the people here in Cumberland County are doing the same thing. Getting back to the hurricane again, the first about 10 days, we spent about $150 million just saving people's lives, the state of North Carolina. And we have 33 counties now declared a disaster. Someone was asking me which one's the worst. I said it just depends on whose lens you're looking through and if your electricity's on or if your kids are in school. This morning I was talking, Onslow County schools are still out. And with the damage down there, we're not sure when they'll be back. Camp Lejeune was damaged massively also. And as Robert was talking about, I've been meeting with counties. We have established a business collaborative, which we are pulling people together from all the interested people to assess the damages of all these small businesses and other businesses. I don't mean to harp on business, but that's kind of my job. And that puts people back to work and keeps money on the table and also keeps businesses here. The longer businesses are not operational and their supply chains are disruptive, the harder it is for them to come back, and perhaps they might not come back. And so it's my job in particular to work with that. A little overwhelming right now, but we do have 100 counties. That's the other thing. The other counties are operational. We have to operate the rest of the state at the same time. And so I'm willing to meet that challenge, but it is a big state, almost 700 miles long. We have an economy North Carolina's economy is larger than Sweden. So if you had this trade minister from Sweden speaking, you'd probably be a lot more impressed. But we have 22,000 people working for Japanese companies alone. And as I said, we're the third largest Daimler investment in North America. Our international pathways for jobs and recruitment is almost all, I'd say almost 85% of our investment now is coming as internationally driven, which is, and you can look at the companies you have right here today. I'll go back and talk about what happened on, the legislature met this week. They met on, they approved, and on the 2nd, they approved $6.5 million for pay for teachers, and then $50 million, on Tuesday, they approved $50 million of immediate funding, and the governor signed $850 million of state relief. They will come back on November 27th, and there will be probably another $600 million or so that will be appropriated. This is coming out of the rainy day fund. There will not be tax increases, but I think everyone may be braced for that also, depending on after we assess. We haven't totally assessed what all the damages are, especially agriculture damage is quite extensive, and I'm not sure anyone has quite a handle on that. You know, we still market about $500 million of tobacco to Japan alone every year. So when you lose that, that's a big hit to our gross state product and a big hit to the individual farmers. The university system and community colleges, $5 million for community colleges and $30 million for the UNC system. We also have finish line grants, which was not approved by the General Assembly last year, but we're funding it out of our monies. The finish line grants are community college students who have run into a way that perhaps there's been some emergency that happened and you're almost finished this semester. You can apply for that and perhaps you qualify, and we will give you enough assistance to finish and continue your education. I go back to workforce again. Workforce is the major issue for any economic development, and the governor is totally committed to that, and we're working with all the entities. The next thing we're working on is sites. It's just real estate until it has the infrastructure there. I get calls every day, well, we have a site at the intersection of 2 roads, and I said, well, does it have water, sewer, natural gas, broadband? Is it 50 miles from an airport? Does it have rail? Unless it has all of those things and is ready to go, it's real estate. You may like it, but companies coming in, let me give you a perfect example. When we were in the hunt for Toyota last year, Toyota was looking at a site. And so they had to be ready in 18 months and they had to be in production. For every hour they were late on their production date, it was going to cost them $86,000. So if you have a site and that person making that decision comes in and there's any doubt that it's not going to be on the schedule, you're not going to be looked at. So we are working, and we're working with the General Assembly and other sources to get funding to begin the infrastructure build for counties. Especially many of our counties don't even have natural gas. There are counties in this state that are 30 to 40 miles from a natural gas line. That's about $1 million a mile to put that in. They will never get manufacturing without natural gas. So if we're really serious about developing rural North Carolina, we're going to have to put the infrastructure there. So I don't think people are serious when they're talking about it if they're not willing to make those kind of commitments. And it's a long-term commitment. Last year we bought in, I've been 4 times to Asia in the last 12 months, and we bought the largest rural investment ever in North Carolina to Cumberland County, which is a Chinese tire producer. They'll be producing 6 million tires a year. It's all robotic. And as part of that, we had to build a training center to make sure they have the trained employees. In fact, for Cumberland County and Nash County, we have to provide 2,000 employees for them in the next 36 months at a time when we're at full employment. In fact, we just did a survey in rural North Carolina, and 70% of rural employers who are advertising for employees are getting no applicants. I'm not talking about qualified, I'm talking about no applicants. Some of that reason is perhaps because the job skills in rural jobs are now about the same as they are in urban jobs. To operate robots and to operate those things in a rural county takes the same skill sets as it does in an urban county. We're seeing the pay grades, the pay schedules go up in rural counties. So good thing for employees, and it's a good state for North Carolina. Once again, I want to say that working with all of the entities, FEMA, HUD, all of the state entities, Golden Leaf, small business, we've approved $22 million in small business loans already. We have unemployment assistance is under the Department of Commerce. We've had 9,000 applicants already for that. Part of the unemployment assistance that we do provide now is for people who are not part of the unemployment trust fund, by virtue of many farmers and other people are not, and we're working with them to assist them in unemployment until they can get back on their feet. But once again, I know I'm going to stop talking. I could talk on forever, but I know that I'm what's between you and getting back to your businesses and making money and employing people. Thank you for all that you do. I will be back. The governor's committed to working with you, and thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much. I know we ran a little bit over. That concludes our program this afternoon. Thanks again to our sponsors, PwC, the Crown Complex, Highland Paving, H&H Homes, Jerome Scott, the insurance guy, the Fayetteville Observer, Array Magazine, Up and Coming Weekly, and most importantly, thank you to all of you and the great leaders in our community. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Y'all be safe.